All right, welcome back to Off the Clock. Today we have a special guest. Today's guest is Matsi Modise. Thank you for being here on Off the Clock with us. You look very relaxed. You look very ready for this conversation that we're about to have. And thank you for being here and joining us today.
It's a pleasure, and I'm super excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, let me also welcome you to Off the Clock and really appreciate you making the time to be with us. And maybe why don't you kickstart by telling the viewers, who you are, the way you want to say it.
Yeah. Great, Peter. Thank you so much. So as an entrepreneur, it's always very difficult to answer, what do you do? Because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a teacher. It's never that straightforward. But I would say there's three main hats that I wear professionally. That of an investor. So I've invested in two fintech companies, one called Inclusion. Okay. It's in 3 African markets. Sit also as a chairperson. And then another one is Airbuy. It's 2 young guys from Soweto. And they've created a digital wallet. So I invested into their business. And then I also sit on a few boards, locally and internationally. And that makes life very interesting because you focus a lot on governance and strategy and oversight. Very important job for either being in the public or the private sector. And then thirdly, climate. So that's my most current. Joined that space about 2 years. And there we're also looking at investments and technology around climate.
Wow, that's quite a very diverse, I think, commitment to many things, and sound like you're having very exciting life. Not one day is similar to the other, so very exciting all the way. And I like the climate piece in that. Obviously with just the picture that you painted now, I just would like to know, because it's a very busy picture, right, that you painted.
Yeah.
How do you relax? I mean, do you even sleep well? How do you chill?
Great question. I used to say you'll sleep when you die, but I've stopped saying that because the older you become, the more you value sleep and just, resting and taking time out. It's a lot of environments that I'm involved in, so I have to just tap out. And how I tap out is meditation. So I have a morning meditation if I'm still up by by the time I have to sleep. I also have a way of just reflecting on the day and just setting myself to have a nice sleep. But that's obviously time permitting. How else do I relax? I would say I love being in nature. So if it was up to me, I'd live in a forest, literally have a house in the middle of a forest. Utopia of sorts. So I love nature, I love water, I love being just outside, yeah.
But how many hours do you do of sleep?
I normally get about 7, hey?
Okay.
Yeah, I normally get about 7.
7 is decent.
Yeah.
So obviously, that type of luxury for a female leader like yourself. Are you married with kids? Because that obviously go into
my ability to rest, right?
Exactly, because I have experience of kids, marriage. So can take sleep out. So a couple of hours.
In a very selfish way, I'm not married and I don't have kids and I own my time until further notice.
Okay, further notice. Do you want to unpack that for us? Further notice?
Yeah, so I'm also a lady that doesn't mind saying how old she is, because I never look my age, right? If you had to guess how old I am, what would you say?
That's not fair, because I already know how old you are.
It's allowed. Okay.
I can guess because I don't know how old.
So he did more research than you did.
That's his
I was just listening.
That's his job, right?
He actually does listen more.
So you look 35 to me.
Oh my gosh. Well, so no, I'm turning 40 this year. I think a lot of people look at what I've done professionally and think you can't be 35, right? Or you can't even be 40, which is what I'm turning, because a lot of the people that are my age are not chairing big organizations or, have had that experience. So turning 40, I would love to now settle down and have children.
Wow.
At some point.
The clock is running, yeah? It's like
Daily clock is ticking, yes.
So, before I hand over to you, Matsi, to take it on, I've been in healthcare all my life. If somebody is turning 40, about to start family, it's like really, have your 6 kids fast and stop, or think about other methods of freezing eggs and IVF and, those in vitro fertility options and all that. So, not to scare you, I just, happen to know the things.
Sure.
So I'm just, just saying.
You're being very clinical right now.
That's my life.
I think he's just trying to tell you that
the clock is ticking. What is your plan?
Well,
I think on freezing eggs, because I haven't frozen my eggs. I don't think I want to freeze my eggs because I believe that when you're born, God decided that this is Matsi and this is her journey. She's going to have X amount of kids or she's not going to have any kids. So why should I stress about something that will happen or will not happen? Right.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I see it. Well, maybe I'm also a cheapskate because freezing your eggs is quite expensive. But people would say it's insurance. It's like, no, but if you feel like you will procreate, God willing, it'll happen. And, I've had friends that have had kids naturally without IVF at 45. The one thing I don't like about this whole egg freezing thing or having kids at my age is that we referred as geriatric pregnancies or geriatric mothers. So it's like, geriatric? No.
It's not much of it.
I'm not a Jerry.
You're not a Jerry. Not until you get pregnant.
Well, one thing I know, if I do have the opportunity to be a mom, I will be an old mom. So let's say in the next 2 years, I have a child. So when I'm 52, my child will be 10 years old. Right?
Make sure you keep fit and all those things because those kids, especially...
So I need a young husband. How's that?
I mean, if you don't already have the husband, I don't know, maybe the listeners can chip in on how.
That is not an open invitation, by the way. So
it's comment below if you want to volunteer.
I'm just saying, okay? I mean, and not to scare you off, right?
Yeah.
Out of the kids, God bless you, have 3 or 4, whatever the number you want. I just want to talk to you about the food, the cooking, and the travel because, the two come together. The more you try different cultures, different cultures eat differently.
Yeah.
And maybe let's start from the beginning. I mean, do you cook? You like cooking? If you do, what sort of, dishes do you prefer or like?
Oh, that's such a nice question because I love cooking, right? If I hated cooking, I'd be like, what are you saying? But I do love cooking. I'm like a homemaker. So I always want to bring people inside and come home. Let's eat. Let's break bread. Let's have some wine. Let's just talk and gossip or let's go spiritual. So cooking is it's a labor of love. So I love cooking. I'm a feeder. So I'm always trying to see if everybody's fine. I love hosting. So there's always background music. There's always a playlist for this kind of dinner at mine or that. So it's kind of an experience that I enjoy. And so I like clean food. So over the years, I feel like my body, salads but nice salads, right? You'd think this is actually is this healthy? It's
not a Greek
healthy.
salad.
Yeah, Greek salad is a Greek salad, but I'd put artichokes and grilled vegetables and nuts and right.
Trying to lick my lips,
Don't, Peter, don't lick your lips. So I love cooking. It's an experience. And if I also had to, besides me cooking, what kind of food I like Mediterranean because it also tends to be fresh and clean and lots of vegetables and raw food. So that's kind of me in the kitchen. I love being in the kitchen.
Okay. Just remind me, burrata salad.
Burrata salad is my fave. Yeah.
Thinking about travel, I mean, how much have you traveled?
A lot. So every month
Can
I'm in a
brag
different
about it.
country.
Yeah.
No, it's not a brag. It's like my job. So every month I'm in a different country, basically, or few countries. And it's how I've also designed my life. So being an investor, I suppose also being in the climate space, especially, I have a partnership with guys in Copenhagen. So that's my second office, meaning
Sure.
that every 6 weeks I have to go to Europe, or I have to, do stuff in New York or during COP and all of that stuff. So I'm literally living on the road, and not ideal, because I had to, remind myself the other day, perhaps you could do this for the next 2 years, but at some point you need to find that utopia in the forest.
So, okay, my question was, and I think you answered it, was that does it not take a toll traveling so frequently, and doesn't it lose, because it's for work, don't you lose that enjoyment for traveling when you have to travel so frequently for work?
Depends how you travel.
No, obviously it depends how you travel. Like, comfortability is a big thing. You either sitting
Did I really
with a
say that?
baby behind you asking, are we there yet for 6 hours? Or you're sitting in business class and someone's bringing you a nice coffee and things.
Champagne, endless champagne.
Exactly. So depending on where, but also at the same time, you'll get, like, if you always fly business class, you'll get used to it and will lose that whole...
Flying business class.
Yes. So, I mean, what I'm saying is that if you always flying business class, it's going to become
I'm not saying that. I mean, because now people see me in economy, they're like, didn't she say on an interview she's always like... No, like, I mean, if it's far, like, ideally it's nice. And also if work is paying. But if I had to kind of use my own coins, I sometimes have to think about it. I'll kind of sometimes break up the route. So if I'm flying to London, it's 10 hours. Okay, fly business there. And if you're flying to the US from London, then 6 hours is fine, right?
Yeah.
You make it work if I'm using my own coins. But, luckily work does allow for us to kind of be comfortable, because when you arrive, you want to be as fresh as possible.
Hit the ground running.
Yeah, and I like just being able to like have a lie flat and just sleep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always ideal. But I think your question is also around, does the whole thing of traveling not lose its appeal?
Yeah, because if you're doing it so frequent, it becomes very normal and standard, and it's just like, oh, I just do this.
I have a different view. So there's that. So it's kind of how my life has been structured, right? So for me, and a lot of girls, we love Paris, right? So I love Paris.
Tell us more about girls love in Paris.
I mean, Paris is so romantic. It's the shopping. So there's great quality things, but it's also the people. Okay. So I remember the first time I went to Paris, just a few years ago. The first time I got there, I was like, everybody's so beautiful. The men are wearing beautiful navy blazers and white shirts, and they're on their bicycles with a baguette. And, there's an old lady in the corner shop who's just there, but she's smelling so good, looking so lovely. She's just having a meal. And I was like, this is my place. It's so dreamy. I love it. But there's other places I like in the world that you'd be shocked that, Matsi, do you really like this place?
Like what?
Like Lagos. It's one of my favorite cities in the world.
Well, which spot in Lagos? Tell us.
Well, there is, not Victoria Island. Okay. But VI is where normally my where I would socialize, where I'd stay. And then there's also an island where I forget the name of it, but you have to take a boat, and that's where people have the like holiday homes or their weekend homes. I forget the name of it, but yeah. So I have also good friends in Nigeria. That always makes such a great experience. I love the energy. It's an organized mess, like it's crazy, chaotic, but energy. The people are just so robust.
What do you mean organized mess? I mean, I've been to Nigeria probably more than 20 times.
Okay.
It's always the same in terms of the traffic. No. Don't get me wrong. I like Nigeria and Lagos. I've been to probably about 6 or 7 states because I like exploring, trying new things.
Yes.
And also, but the traffic just kills me because, and also, sometimes the fact that things just don't work, all right? When
That's
we
part
at
of the fun.
airport. Yeah, So sometimes when you fly in, you wish you can just have one stop at immigration as opposed to 4 or 3 stops.
Why do you have 4 stops?
If you
I
don't
have one
pay,
stop.
if you don't pay fast track,
Well,
so you sound very cheesy and
no,
spoiled.
still I have good friends in
So-
Nigeria, so they make it very easy.
She has
Exactly.
the
I'm
link.
just talking about ordinary men like myself. So I have to stop 3-4 times through immigration and pass through
And
that.
then they want that or like
Yeah,
this
like
and
what
that.
do you have for me? But I mean, it's still fun, okay? And in that traffic, you still find people. Traffic doesn't move, but people sell stuff, which I see it emerging in Joburg, where people sell stop signs and traffic lights and all that.
Yes.
It's like you can buy a lot of things on the road.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe let's take this to another level.
Mm-hmm.
He's been asking a lot of questions to our guests
Okay.
on mental wellness
Okay.
of executives like yourselves, because initially you mentioned that you chair boards. It's I chair some boards. I don't get paid for it, by the way, and it's a wrestle to get them to focus in the same direction. But your thoughts around executive mental wellness. Do you think enough attention is paid to, or you kind of work hard and you're on your own afterwards?
Okay. So who would be focusing on it, yourself or your environment?
Yourself.
Yeah. So you have to self-moderate. You have to, like, I know on Monday, because this is quite a heavy week of meditation, right? Yeah, and you're very sensitive. Your energies are very sensitive. So it's easy for someone to just do something and it takes you out. And then before you sleep, you have to just center yourself. So I think you have to have tools that will help you self-moderate. I think also self-awareness. I know when I'm not my best is when I have a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, and things are not clear. That's when I'm snappy. That's when I'm not my happy-go-lucky person. And I know that's not the favorite side of Matsi. So I have to now do something, have to make certain decisions, maybe remove certain things that are causing and creating that. So I suppose part of growing up is also having a sense of self-moderation, of knowing what are the triggers. Also doing the inner work. I think as leaders, there has to be a sense of understanding yourself. So a few years ago, I had an opportunity to meet someone who's now my spiritual guru or guide, right? Someone who's actually helped me do holistic living, inner work with the chakras, understanding what are the chakras, your energy centers, and how do they impact you? Because that's kind of, it's not just Matsi outside. There's a whole lot of things that happen inside. And let's understand what those are. So I had...
Is this how you also got into meditation?
Yes. Because I swear, before I did that, I thought it was this woo stuff, where it's like you have to do breath work and as though that means anything. But I think when I got into it, I understood that, breathing is of the essence. When you're born, it's the first thing you do, right? You breathe. And when you die, it's the last thing that happens.
You take your last breath.
Exactly. So there's a lot that's connected to breathing and knowing how to tap into a state of, for me to clear my mind, I have to do breath work. So yes. I learned that.
But maybe a follow-on question, and then you can take over, Matsi. Do you as somebody who's chairing some corporate boards, do you think corporates are doing enough to take care of mental wellness of executives? Because I think on one of the shows that we had, I think Matsi had a very profound question when we spoke about this, that we hear about mental wellness for everybody else, but who's looking after my dad? In terms of the executives, the CEOs, you create a program and a platform for everybody else, but who's looking after the execs? Because they go home to another challenge there. It's not always a joy. On the road to home, some more challenges, but who's looking after
you?
The
leader that's responsible to. I think we could do more. I think we with more awareness of that mental health is something to consider, right? I think corporates could do more. So where I sit in boards or chair or be a director, I tend to also like being in the HR REMCO subcommittee, because that's kind of where you speak on the soft
Sure.
part. Because at the end of the day, business is about people, right? Business is about people interacting with each other around various things. So we all bring different energies, you never know where a person is coming from. They might have had a parent passing on, or, breakup, something quite traumatic, but they're expected to show up and be professional
All the time.
all the time, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes corporate doesn't have sympathy. And I get a sense that the world is kind of becoming softer because now there's more awareness. Diversity, inclusion, it shouldn't just be an idea or a concept. It has to be lived, right? Because as a leader, you're dealing with people, right? And I think our superpowers as leaders should be your ability to read people, to understand people. I think I'm not the greatest, but it's one of my key skills, my ability to read a situation and to read a person. And especially if I'm having to sell, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you're always selling something. You're always having to convince somebody to do something, right? So you have to be able to read people. You have to have a sense of people must trust you. And it's how you engage, and it's also the energy that you project. So I think that's why it draws back to how you as a leader self-moderate, because it's something that you're responsible for, how you show up. It's tough as the world might be. It's your responsibility to moderate your energy, because the minute you step into the working environment, everybody can feel like we're talking about if dad was in a bad mood, then, this conversation could go a different direction. So it's like, well, dad, the idea is for us to actually have a very good conversation. So if you had a big fist fight with somebody just before this, you have to calm down and do a couple of breaths before you walk in here.
Yeah, the good thing is that I rarely ever get in a bad mood.
Oh, great.
And also, talking about the breathing exercise and stuff, that's very helpful. I do that often.
Yeah.
At what point, because in the beginning, like my dad said, you painted a very busy picture of all the things that you do. At one point did you, and you said 12 years ago when you got your guru to start helping you?
No, I got her about 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
That was my awakening moment.
Awakening.
That aha awakening.
What made you realize that you had to do more in terms of taking care of your own mental health? Because I feel like a lot of people's like, as long as I take care of my physical health, everything else will be better. But it's like, well, there's more than just your physical health, obviously.
Yeah.
So when did you realize it's like, I actually need to start doing the breathing exercises and doing all these things?
It's a very good question. And so what was the trigger? I think for me, normally, I've always been a happy-go-lucky person. So, but even before I did the inner work, I was still a happy person. So if you meet me, but there was just something that was very numb about me.
Okay.
So I used to kind of, and perhaps it was a coping mechanism. And also my spiritual guru is that you have a lot of masculine energy, right? And we all have
Was
masculine.
this the 3 years ago?
Yeah, this is 3 years ago. She's like, you have a lot of masculine energy, but we all have masculine and feminine energy, both men and women, like in our existence, like there's a balance of that.
Some more than others.
So mine was more masculine, but I know I'm small and I look pretty and petite and I like my lipstick, but I am quite, I used to, and now I've kind of calmed down a bit because she's helped me out to bring out my feminine energy in very masculine environments, right? And she also mentioned that my masculinity is not by choice, it's by surrounding.
Would you say that the masculine energy, that trait, I'd say like the over masculine energy that your person said that you had, would it be because of obviously the environment, but your How, like, the jobs you were working and all the
upbringing as
things.
well,
Upbringing
right?
as well. Okay.
So, my parents were divorced. My mom
Okay.
was the one that loved my dad to bits. Like, I was daddy's favorite girl, right? So when he passed away last year, I was like, oh, the first love of my life passed away. But him and my mom had a very, they got divorced when I was still very young. But mom, carried everything. She took us to good schools and so I saw mom having to struggle to do a lot of things and carry that weight. So when now I was in a position to now earn and make a living, I kind of stepped in as saying, Mom, I'll take care of you, but also seeing a woman having to pick up the heavy loads, it did have an impact on just but then also just vibrationally, I was just, especially when it comes to relationships, I was just making not the right decisions here. And I think I just had to, I'm like, well, there's a conditioning that I have. I don't have boundaries. So she told me about boundaries. There's something about you living a fulfilled life as you are. But Matsi, not everybody has the right to you and to be in your life. There's a lot of people that had no business being in my life. But there's a responsibility to know that you chose that.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, whatever experience that you've had in your life, whether it's good, bad, whether it's triggered something and created, a lot of, let's say, trauma in your life, you also subscribe to that. So for me now, it's like I have clear boundaries. I'm happy to say no a lot of times because it's like, well, I could be doing this, but I choose to do that. Like my time, especially, right? And various other things. So I think for me, the triggers were more, how do I raise my vibration to attract more and better for myself when it comes to relationships? So, yeah.
And has that worked?
I will not respond.
I'll take a sip of water.
But yes, I think it has. Like definitely my choices in relationships have improved vastly.
That's
and they are much more enriching. And surprisingly, I'm choosing the opposite of me, right? I used to, and a lot of times as women, we want to date Matsi. You want to wait and date somebody who's like yourself, who's highly ambitious and, I wake up in the morning, I know what needs to be done. I'm super organized. Well, not super organized, but but I realized that my type is actually my opposite. Someone who's more free-spirited, someone who's more relaxed, somebody that can calm me down, somebody who can slow me down and bring me into my utopia, right?
Okay.
So maybe to kind of smoothen out of this, I have a question for you because
for me?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Believe it or not, meeting people like Matsi and a whole lot of other people that we've met at your age, any things that you're taking home out of this experiences? Because I think she's very unique and different, and she had different things today. What's
Okay. I think I'd say it's what I can share is that it's always refreshing to meet new people that give you a different perspective, especially like Matsi. Matsi, very bubbly person, very driven person, obviously, and she's also a very optimistic person. So I think I would say the influence on me is that people like yourself just show that yes, you can do other things. You can do a lot with your life, and you can also do the other things later in life. It's the other things are always possible, and you're also teaching us that how you take care of yourself mentally. Like you spoke about the chakras, the breathing. No one's ever came here and said, spoken about the breathing. And people have spoken about meditation, but they didn't go into like the breathing, which I also think is also a very important thing, because not that I'm very knowledgeable about the subject, but like I don't know how to correctly refer to them, but like monks in, I'd say, is it in Asia, China, all those
Eastern
things.
principles.
you would see them like they put a very big emphasis on meditation and controlling your breathing, right? And there was a guy who set himself on fire while meditating, didn't feel any pain, sat still and all that. And that's just because of meditation and breathing and all that. So when she says that how important breathing is, she's really not lying. And it just brings you closer to the situation that other people take these things also seriously that are taught in other places of the world. So it's like you can learn a lot from other people, and you can relearn things you've already learned from new people that we bring onto the show. So for me, the impact was like the breathing thing stood out, because as simple as it is, it's still a very important thing. So I like that type of impact. It's like, even though I knew this, you shined a new light on it as well.
It's a ritual.
Yes.
Yeah. I when, especially in the YPO environment, I like to observe a lot and kind of suss people out and understand, what makes you different. And one thing I picked up is that they all have their own rituals that make them successful. And within that rituals, there's a community. So there's a community of healing. So if you have friends that, are good and they're very empathetic people, so you have that community of people that are strategic. So if I want to tap into my strategy, I have like that community, and there's certain rituals that you follow in that regard. So I'm all about creating rituals around different communities of the things that healing and well-being and eating well, and
Any parting shots from you, Tlati, and you, Matsi, maybe in terms of maybe you can start by anything else that you want to say to us on this mission that we're on.
Well, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. Hopefully it does inspire, even if it's one person, that it is possible. I come from a small town in the Free State, but I've been able to achieve a lot. And my mom will always say, Matsi, you also had your privilege. So as a young Black child that went to good schools, you must always identify your privilege. But I think it's, I'm glad that I was able to just share a little bit of me off the clock, outside of the boardroom. Because, when people Google you, they think you're that. And then they actually meet you. They're like, wow, you're actually quite nice. And I'm like, so was I supposed to be mean, horrible, full of attitude?
Somewhere on your LinkedIn page it said I'm not nice.
I'm a nice person. Yeah, so thanks so much, guys, for this opportunity to spend this afternoon. And all the best. May all the great women also grace this wonderful platform.
Got a lineup, Tlati, and parting shots.
Besides saying thank you for coming here and having this conversation with us, I'll say my parting shot is my last question. And it would be, what is the most adventurous thing that you have done? Just so that we end on something nice.
Oh my gosh, what is the most adventurous thing I've ever done?
Just to show people that you know how to have fun.
You said it's PG, right? I will not mention it. It's too wild. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and people's wild imaginations is just go wild.
Now you're going to meet people that think you've done X, Y, and Z.
Well, yes.
I think there's a big prize for guessing what that is. And I'm willing to give a bottle of wine from off the clock for...
No, I'll let you guys know after this chat.
Okay.
When you go offline. When you go off the clock.
So, Matsi, thank you very much for being authentic, being yourself. I think you shared quite a lot. And some of your life experience have been inspirational, I think, to the listeners in terms of things that you do to be this powerful woman who remains very young and beautiful.
35, remember, guys? You're sticking to 35.
35, and who still want to have 3-4 kids.
Living in a forest.
In a forest.
Don't forget the young husband.
And the young husband.
Which is quite a long list. So appreciate the time. And all the best with studying your family.
Thanks. Thank you.
So
Inshallah, God willing.
Inshallah. Thanks.
There you go.
Cool.